There's a strange thing happening in workplaces right now. Retention numbers look great, people are staying, but engagement is quietly falling. Employees aren't staying because they're thriving, they're staying because they're scared. We call this the stability paradox. It's one of the trends in our World of Work Trends Report 2026 here at Top Employers Institute. And today, I'm joined by someone who is living this question from the inside, Mr. Sachin Khurana, Chief People Officer at Happiest Minds Technologies. Sachin, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Really looking forward.
Before we get into the trend itself, I want to start with something closer to home. Happiest Minds Technologies got certified as a top employer. What has that certification process actually meant for you as a chief people officer, especially not just as a badge, but as a tool, as a working tool internally?
Okay, I think participating in top employers was a beautiful journey, and when we participated in this certification, not for another logo on a website, it was more about really using an opportunity to get an external validation of what we are doing. Are we on the right path? Are we on the right direction? And while as an organization we have an intent, we have a perspective of who we are as a organization culture. But what is very important is that you constantly validate that with the best practices in the industry, and see how those cultural practices are actually benchmarked across industry. I think it's a beautiful experience and good to be there in the top employer certified companies.
I'm glad. I'm glad. And is there some change that has been brought about in how you and the leadership team now look at people practices on a day-to-day basis? Any particular area that has now, the certification process had brought into focus, which you otherwise might not have noticed?
Uh, you know, uh, when we participate in a program like this, when I look at it, it comes out like a collective. As an organization, all our leaders, everyone at the organization, all happiest mind has create something beautiful. And when you know that at different point of time, some good work that you do, some of the challenges that you see, but when you look at the whole submission, the whole exercise, you see together coming at collective that you can have a sense of pride,
Yeah.
like fulfillment, that I think you're in the right direction and you've accomplished a lot. It's an opportunity to appreciate
Yeah.
yourself for the good work that you're doing. And obviously in the whole process you get to learn a lot. And I think while as an organization we've scored really well in many of the charters, but one thing that we taken up is the feedback that we got on the onboarding areas. We felt that while we do a lot of good stuff in terms of the buddy program, the experience side, but I think what came out beautifully was, am I able to create a experience which is consistent across my locations? Is the experience that I'm creating in Bangalore, which is where I'm headquartered, is it same as Buckinghamshire? Is it the same as San Jose, or in London where members are joining? I think that came out beautifully, and I think we were able to work really hard post the feedback that we've got. And right now our task force is on, which is looking at how we can really score better and improve on our areas, in specific on the onboarding side. Yes.
That's brilliant. I'm glad. Especially because I did the session with you and your team also, and you all took it so seriously. So I'm sure there's a ready task force working on everything. Yeah. So let's move into today's topic. When you hear the phrase the stability paradox, what is the first thing that comes to your mind, especially with respect to your organization?
When you look at the industry, the global economy, a lot of instability, a lot of chaos, I would say, a lot of unpredictability.
Yeah.
And with AI coming in, it just accelerated all of that. With different region, different countries are at war, and then there's AI coming in. The economy is also not growing at the pace that people have seen in their
Yeah.
life. So I think that really added a little bit that anxiety, that space, and it started impacting people. With all the news around layoffs, rationalization, team calibration happening at different organizations, I think it did really created that space where people are thinking, Should I look at give more focus on stability, stay put where I am? Is it a time to look at what is challenging for me? Is this place where I'm really engaged, or is that a priority for me? So I think when I'm talking to my peers, industry veterans, I think that's an experience that a lot of companies are experiencing, not only in the technology space, but in different industries as well.
That makes sense. Our research also found that over half employees across the globe are now prioritizing job security over ambition, and that number actually goes higher for younger people in the workforce. I mean, there's a term I'm sure you've also heard of, job hugging, right? Where people are staying for that security, but not because of satisfaction, but out of fear. So is that something you also resonate with at Happiest Minds?
You know, for experts, for media, there always have to be something new, catchy word, a phrase that we can talk about. And I think these days, lately, we're talking about job hugging, absolutely. And I think that's a phenomena that is there, and the term really defined that well. People are staying a little longer in many of the organization. It is also coming from that space of disruption. And it's not that we have not seen that before. When we talk about global recession, when we talked about when the internet came in, people who were felt disrupted. They're saying, let me stay put. Whatever I'm doing, let me just focus on that. And I think so. It happens every few years. I think so that's a industry phenomena that I completely agree. When you look at a technology company like ours, as Happiest Minds, we are in the midst of that change. We're in the midst of the transformation that the industries are going through. And what is now important for us is not looking at that space of stability from a context of continuity, but stability in a context of relevance. I think as an industry, from a technology space perspective, what is important is are our people being relevant to the changing needs, to the changing environment, the changing ecosystem that we have. I think that is more important, and the conversation within the organization is more about relevance than stability. Gone were the days when we were looking at attrition as the primary KRA. What we're really looking at, how relevant my team's skill set is, how from a domain perspective, from a technology perspective, how customer relevant my people's skill sets are. And I think as an organization, we have the right set of team who's constantly able to support our customers in their AI transformation journey. I think that's where we truly stand. So as an AI first organization, we are the AI transformation partner for the organization. We can't focus on stability. We have to focus on relevance.
Yeah, and I think with your industry, stability basically means something very different also, right? The definition of that also changes. And you very rightly put it as the relevance. We focus more on that aspect so that we can continue to adapt with whatever the industry, our customers, and everybody require.
Maybe I can just add a perspective with an example. We're talking about the AI world, and we're talking about three groups that I see. AI enabled, AI augmented, and AI native. As an organization, I would say almost 100% of our people are AI enabled.
Okay.
Who have been supported with the tools they require to be more productive. And I would say 40 to 50% of people who are AI augmented, who are really using the tools, the ecosystems, to really create better value for our customers by improvising, increasing productivity, efficiency, better outcomes at a much higher level. And then there are I would say a high double digit of folks at Happiest Minds who are AI native. AI native are who's completely different lens of seeing everything. Questioning the status quo, looking at the current model, looking at the whole architecture of things. How can we make it AI native? And if I have to do it from scratch, rather than improvising 10, 20, 30%, say, can I look at it from scratch and say, this is the whole program, this is the whole workflow. Can we just do this very differently in an AI native way and at 10% of the time and at the speed and agility that people have not thought of. I think we are at the cusp of the change, and we can't say stability and tenure is anyway relevant. What is relevant is the relevance of the people in the industry.
That makes sense. And since you spoke of skills also, and in your industry specifically, skills evolve so fast, right? And it's always changing. And like you said, the architecture itself of a lot of these things is changing. So, how do you manage the risk of people quietly becoming comfortable rather than actually growing with the organization and adapting their skills?
Yeah, I think getting a sense on what is the space in the organization is very important, and uh, I would say, what is the kind of questions people are asking is a very good sense of understanding the engagement of the organization, right? If people are asking, what is next?
Yeah.
People are asking what I need to do differently. People are questioning the status quo. People are, sharing their perspective without uh, threatened, feeling threatened. I think that's a space which talks about an organization which creates an environment where people thrive. And when people are not engaged, you will find questions which are more transactional.
Yeah.
My policy, my job, my time, how do I complete this activity, can I do it tomorrow, kind of stuff. The conversations that they have with their peer, their managers, their team become so very transactional. I think
Yeah.
having a good sense of what kind of questions people are asking gives you a good way of what is your engagement level in
Yeah.
your organization. And I think through the pulse surveys, the check-ins, the manager conversation that we have, all the assessments and surveys that we do, I think we try to get a good sense of it. I feel that we are reasonably placed with the kind of conversation people are talking about, what new will do, how different things will do, what is an innovation will create. I think that keeps me quite happy. I think that may be one of the reasons why we are the top employer.
Absolutely. And I like how you put it because, if people are asking questions and the right kind of questions, it also shows you that they care. People wouldn't ask these kind of questions if they didn't care about the work or the trajectory that, their work or the company is taking. So I think that is a good way of tracking that engagement also. And of course, retention becomes a good byproduct of some of these things. So, what does that look like operationally at Happiest Minds? So, are there any specific programs or structures you have in place for this?
Okay, we just wrapped up Bliss 2026, which is our technology festival. We had 38 innovation at display. They were not concepts, they were not slides, they were real innovation at display. And as we are talking, two of those solutions are already been put into charter to make a full-fledged platform that would be available for our customers very soon. And I think when we have an event like this, it talks about people are really becoming the change maker. They are displaying their thought leadership. They are innovating at their work. I think that is beautiful, and that gives you a space that people are not comfortable. Along with that, we had this AI first builder program where again innovative domain-led specific solutions came in, and we had a high double-digit solutions that came in. In fact, 2 solutions for each industry group came out as the winners, and a lot of work is happening where some of them is coming into real life. Along with that, we have this interesting program called Mentor Up, and when we talk about this innovation, learning, it's not only the younger workforce who has to do the learning. I think the more experienced people also need to learn, as I said, learning as well as unlearning. So I think this mentor program where our Gen Zs are sharing their wisdom and experiences with the older generation. I think that's one of our successful programs. So I think we've stitched these programs. These are not individual programs. This is an ecosystem that we create which touches people at different stages of engagement, which is also about learning, contribution, innovation, and the whole idea being themselves.
Yeah, yeah. And it also, I think, gives a good opportunity for reverse mentoring. Where you
Absolutely.
said, Gen Z also it's a good opportunity for the older generation also to learn from them.
I
So-
participated in both the seasons, so it's part of
Okay.
our reverse mentoring program, and I think one of the most fulfilling programs that I have ever
Lovely.
participated.
Lovely. So as we head deeper into 2026, and AI disruption is still very much a challenge, economic uncertainty is still very much, these are live issues. Where do you think the balance between stability and adaptability is heading for the industry as a whole?
Oh, that's a tricky one. I think if you go by some of the uh, AI experts, I think world is changing really fast, and we will be living in abundance. But I think we still have few decades to go if that is ever coming to reality. But I will put it this way, from let's look at this way. All the industries, not only IT or service industry, are getting disrupted by technology, whether you are in education, medical, automobile.
Yeah.
Now even the automobile is not an automobile industry anymore, it's a technology industry. And what is technology industry? What is technology itself? Technology is nothing but the innovation done by people. So I think when people need to, the industry, the organization have to see things very differently. They are not in a business of automobile. They're not a business of FMCG. They are in the business of people and technology. And I think they have to bring that focus back. While technology will overtake or take over a lot of level 1, level 2, level 3 works, they will start supporting critical thinking, strategic decision making. They would be enabler, they would be your support. And I think if all industries start looking at very differently for their talent, that's the time when they will be able to see, they will be able to come out from that paradox of stability and engagement. And I think ensure that the people are provided right environment, people are provided that space of innovation, fail fast, that space. I think that should be a measure. The measure should be how over the last few quarters, how many things we have started doing differently.
Yeah.
Rather than saying, oh, people are not getting adjusted to our policies or programs or initiative. Have you reinvented your initiatives? Have you reinvented your programs? Have you reinvented the way that you look at your people or functions or processes? I think that should be the measure. And certainly if that becomes a measure, the conversation of stability and other conversation will get deprioritized automatically.
Absolutely. And over here also, I would bring it back to your point of relevance also, right? Are the initiatives that we're bringing in, are they relevant to the current world we live in, the current workforce that we're catering to? So all of these would definitely answer that question, right? And personally for you, Sachin, you are also an industry veteran. What is the one shift in mindset that you recommend HR leaders absolutely need to make this year when it comes to how they look at stability?
I don't know if I am the right person to suggest the HR veterans or the industry leaders, but I will share from my own experience.
Absolutely.
I think what works for me. I've been thinking that you have to continuously learn. That's the only way of survival. And I used to spend a lot of time building my own capabilities, learning about new things, industry perspective. But I think uh, just like other things, the pace of change is really fast, and your pace of learning need to really increase significantly. And the pace of unlearning also need to accelerate much faster. At no point of time one should have a view that technology is going to overtake. If you have that as a mindset or a perspective that in some day it's going to happen, then you're already given up. So I think don't give up. As an HR leader, as a business leader, you are relevant today, you are relevant earlier, you are relevant for tomorrow. It's only about how you're going to make the most of what's available for you. And you continue to reinvent yourself. What earlier you were able to do, say from a role perspective, X. Now don't think that you will be able to do X with 20% more efficiency or effectiveness. Maybe you should be able to do Y, which could be a completely different role altogether. Maybe if you have an HR responsibility for a particular geography, you won't be surprised within 3 years, 4 years, you're also leading the operations function as well. Along with that, you might be someone else is managing marketing function as well, because that knowledge is going to be fundamentally available for everyone. Right? What is changing? What will decide whether you're going to take any other role or not is about your ability to adapt and take on, because things are going to change, and are you ready to change yourself? I think is a question that everybody should reflect on.
Sachin, this has been such a valuable conversation. Thank you for being so open about what's happening at Happiest Minds Technologies with the stability paradox, with the certification, and everything in between.
Thank you, Manvi. Thank you, top employers, for this opportunity. Thanks.
For our listeners, if you want to dig deeper into any of these trends, you can find our World of Work Trends Report 2026 on our website. Thank you for joining us today.